Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy. Without any further interruptions, enjoy the What If. Chapter 7. Happy Birthday. Late Saturday, following training with the martial arts club, Mocha and another girl entered the girls' dorm. The attendant looked up and noted the two ladies. She then returned her attention to her magazine. As the two of them took the stairs up to the fourth floor, Mocha turned to her blonde friend. "I'm sorry about this, Naruto-kun," Mocha whispered. "But boys aren't allowed past the first floor." The rather attractive blonde girl smiled back at her. "No problem, Mocha-chan, I used to go out like this all the time." She looked over at him in surprise. "Really? Sure. Was it part of your ninja training?" "A little bit, mostly it was something to do when I was bored." "Oh, and it was also a great way to get some free meals." She really wasn't sure how to answer that, so she settled for leading him up to her room. Naruto was really excited at the chance to be alone with Mocha in her room. She opened the door and he stepped in. Surprise! A loud shout greeted him the second he stepped through the door. There, standing in front of him, were Kurumu and Yukari. Hanging from the ceiling was a sign that read, "Happy Birthday." To say Naruto was surprised would have been a bit of an understatement. He dropped the hinge and stared at the girls. "What's going on here?" he asked warily. "We wanted to celebrate your birthday, Naruto-kun," Mocha said shyly as she shut the door. "That's right." Kurumu launched herself at him and forcibly shoved his face into her chest. "Happy birthday, Naruto-kun." As she continued to press his face into her cleavage, he began to wave his arms about wildly. "I think you're smothering him," Yukari pointed out. Able to breathe again, Naruto looked at the three girls. Thanks for the thought, I really appreciate it. But I don't usually celebrate my birthday." "Why not, darling?" Kurumu asked. "A lot of reasons, but mostly because this day just reminds me of a lot of bad memories." "Then we should try and make some good memories on this day," Mocha said gently. "That's right," Yukari said. "You're turning 16 and we should definitely celebrate it." "I appreciate it, but I'd really rather not," Naruto said. "But we all got you presents. And I even made you a special birthday cake." Kurumu hurried into the kitchen. Naruto noted that Mocha's room was a lot bigger than his. It was actually a small apartment. Apparently the girls got more living space than the boys did. They were in a small living room that connected to a little kitchen. There were two doors that Naruto suspected led to a private bathroom and to Mocha's bedroom. "Here it is," Kurumu said happily as she came out of the kitchen holding a birthday cake on a tray. All three of them stared at the cake she was holding. "What sort of cake is that, you blue-haired bimbo?" Yukari shouted. "What? It's chocolate. Naruto-kun likes chocolate. But you made it look like a naked version of you," Mocha said, embarrassed. "It's an rated birthday cake," Yukari said, outraged. "So what? Naruto-kun likes looking at my body." She smiled at him. "Don't you, Naruto-kun?" Naruto tried desperately to think up a safe answer. "Open wide, Naruto-kun, and make sure you're looking at me as you eat it." Kurumu placed a forkful of cake into his mouth. Why are you feeding him again?" Mocha asked. "It's a tradition. You don't mind, do you, Naruto-kun?" He shook his head as he ate the cake. It was really good. Kurumu really knew how to cook. He swallowed his cake. "Not at all. I think it's kind of cute that you want to feed me." Kurumu smiled at him eagerly. "So is there anything you'd like to tell me, Naruto-kun? The cake is really delicious, thank you for making it for me." He was surprised when his answer seemed to disappoint her. "Is that all you want to tell me?" It's really, really delicious." He wasn't sure what he was supposed to say. Kurumu was staring at him in confusion. "No way. That love potion I put in the cake should have him confessing his undying love for me." Kurumu had put in a special succubus formula. It only worked on males. That should have made him fall in love with the first girl he saw after eating it. What she didn't realize was that one of the Kyuubi's little gifts was that it made Naruto immune to all poisons or mind-altering drugs. "Here, try some more cake." She shoveled another forkful into his mouth, hoping that he just needed a bigger dose. After 4 servings, the girls were finally able to convince Kurumu to stop force-feeding Naruto cake. Eventually they got to the point of giving him their presents. Kurumu handed him a huge cloth sack. "Here's my gift, a year's supply of cookies." He accepted it with a laugh. Thanks Kurumu-chan. Yukari then stepped up with what was obviously a rather thick book hidden beneath some wrapping paper. Here Naruto-kun, this is a very special tome that was in my family's library. I had to go all the way back home and convince my dad to part with it, but it's yours. Happy birthday. Yukari liked books a great deal more than he did, but obviously she'd gone through a great deal of trouble, so he took the gift appreciatively. Thank you Yukari-chan. He quickly removed the wrapping. Oh, a book about ninja, well that's really thoughtful of you. Look inside, she encouraged. Just to please her he opened the book to a random spot and took a quick glance. It's really, he suddenly noticed just what was written down in front of him. No way. Ha, I knew you'd like it, Yukari said happily. Oh Yukari, thank you, thank you, thank you. He picked the 11-year-old up into the air and twirled her about as he hugged her. Just what the hell is in that book anyway? Kurumu asked. Naruto set the little girl down again. It has jutsu formulas and instructions. This book is like a whole collection of jutsu scrolls. Now I can finally start learning how to use more than 2 lousy jutsus. Yukari nodded. That book lists 200 jutsus that were popular when it was published about 70 years ago. It also contains information on various ninja techniques and practices. This is great. He was eagerly flipping through the pages trying to decide what he should study first. How can I ever thank you? How about you, me, and Mocha-chan spend the night together? Yukari answered immediately. Both he and Mocha blushed at the suggestion. Ah, I don't think that's going to happen. Well, how about a thank you kiss? He smiled at her. Now that I think I can do. He leaned down to give her a kiss on the cheek. Yukari, timing it perfectly, turned her face and received his kiss on her lips instead. Yeah, she shouted. My very first kiss from a boy. Naruto looked at the little girl in surprise, and with a sense he had done something slightly criminal. That's also the first time I've ever kissed a girl. Somehow Yukari had gotten his very first kiss. Oh, me next, me next. I want a thank you kiss too, Kurumu said and came up to him. Naruto hesitated, but couldn't really think of a fair way not to kiss Kurumu as well. So he leaned in and kissed her lips. Despite all her wild behavior and attitudes, she was actually as inexperienced as he was. It was a chaste short kiss, but when he ended it he was very pleased to see the girl was blushing and looking very happy. Naruto glanced over at Mocha, sort of hoping she would ask for one too. Seeing him look in her direction, she nervously cast her eyes down on the floor. Naruto had expected Mocha's present next, but she had asked to give it to him later. For the next couple of hours he and the girls ate cake, drank punch, and talked. Naruto kept peeking at his new book, looking at all the cool jutsus. In one night he'd just gotten more help in the ninja arts than he's received in the last 3 years. This was by far the best birthday he'd ever had. When had turned 9, Iruka had tried to celebrate it with him, but he hadn't been interested. Though he'd still accepted the really cool fire truck Iruka had gotten him as a present. He was surprised when it was time to wrap things up and he was actually feeling disappointed. Kurumu wanted to stay a while longer, but Yukari insisted that they had to leave him and Mocha alone so she could give him his gift. After saying goodnight and Yukari dragging Kurumu out the door, Naruto found himself alone with Mocha in her room. The two of them stood wrapped in an awkward silence for a moment. Both acutely aware they were alone together. Thank you for all this, he finally spoke. This was probably your idea. I've never really celebrated my birthday before, it was fun. She smiled. I'm very glad you enjoyed it, Naruto-kun. I know how lonely birthdays can be sometimes and I wanted you to have a good one. She paused and gathered herself. So, why don't I give you my present? Okay. From out of her coat pocket she produced a small glass vial with a pinkish liquid inside. Here, she handed it over to him. He looked at it curiously. What is it? A potion of dream summoning, she told him. It's a very special magical potion that will allow you to speak to the spirit of someone long dead within your dreams. In this case it will allow you to speak to your parents. What? He stared at her, not believing. If you drink this potion you will fall into a deep sleep and enter the dream realm, where your parents' spirits will be summoned. There they will be able to speak with you. He felt the blood drain from his face. For real, it won't just be a dream. She shook her head. If you take that potion it will be absolutely real Naruto-kun. It will only be for a few hours, but for that time their spirits will be with you and you can talk to them. He looked down at the small vial. I have to warn you though, she said. What they have to say to you may not be what you want to hear. Please understand that parents aren't always what we want them to be. Melancholy thoughts about her own mother and father flashed through her head. I hope it is not the case, but meeting them might hurt more than never knowing them. He slowly nodded. I understand, but I have to know. There are things I have to ask them. He took a deep breath. Mocha-chan, thank you for this. I don't know how this is possible, but you've given me a chance I never ever thought I'd have. However this turns out, you have my thanks forever. She nodded. She'd known he would decide to take it. But he'd needed to hear the warning just the same. If you're going to take it, why don't you come lie down on my bed? You can stay here until morning. He began to blush just at the thought of sleeping in Mocha's bed. I was planning just to go back to my room and take it there. Is there any special reason why I should take it here? She looked down feeling embarrassed. No, it's just, I would like to be able to watch over you while you are in this deep sleep. Hearing that, fresh warmth filled him. All right, if you really don't mind. Her bed was surprisingly soft. There were red satin sheets that felt like silk to the touch. He was lying on top of her bed, his shoes and jacket off, but the rest of his clothes still on. She was sitting in a chair right beside him. I'll just sit right here until you wake up, she said tenderly. Thank you for this, Mocha-chan. He unstopped the vial and gave her a salute. Sweet dreams. In one motion he tossed the liquid down his throat. It was surprisingly bitter. Almost as soon as he swallowed it, his eyes grew heavy and his head hit the pillow. She put away the vial and made sure he was sleeping comfortably. Then she sat back down to watch over him. Sleep well, my dear one, she gently touched his face. And dream of wonders. Chapter 8. The Dream. Singing. He heard a woman's voice singing to him. All the clouds in the sky. All the stars in the heavens. All gather them up, for my precious little one. All the flowers in the field. All the dreams of my heart. All gather them up, for my precious little one. He thought she had a beautiful voice. It felt as though she was singing just for him. Along with the voice he began to realize that someone was holding him and rocking him back and forth. Normally he didn't like people having a hold of him, but this embrace felt gentle and comforting. He didn't mind it at all. He opened his eyes. He saw a beautiful face smiling down at him. She had green eyes and long flowing red hair. She was wearing what looked like ninja gear that was mostly orange. As he came fully conscious, he was also aware that he wasn't in his body. At least he wasn't in his current body. Somehow he had reverted back into a small child of 6 or 7, back when he still had at least a little bit of innocence. Seeing his eyes open, she stopped rocking him and spoke. Hello Naru-chan, I am so happy to finally be with you again. Her tone was so tender and affectionate. No one had ever spoken to him like this before. He somehow knew that this woman would never harm him. Are you my cousin? Her sudden laughter caught him off guard, as did her hugging him so tight. Oh, how I've longed to hear you call me that, my little one. Yes, I am cousin, I am your mother. Hearing that, he put his small arms around her and said something he had always longed to say just once. Mommy. For several minutes they both simply wept and held on to each other. If this had been all there was, if the dream had ended at that moment, it would have been enough. For Naruto, to finally know his mother's face, to hear her voice, to feel her arms protectively around him, and to know that she had loved him. If there had been no more than that, it would have been enough. He remained securely in her arms but began to look about. They seemed to be in a patch of dead forest. He recognized it as the terrain that surrounded Yokai Academy. Mom, where are we? She quickly wiped away her tears before answering. We are in the realm of dreams, my son. The land around you will respond to your wishes. We are in this forest because it is where you want us to be. She reached down and gently wiped the tears from his cheeks. Just as you are in this form because it is how you truly see yourself. Naruto shook his head, denying it. I'm not a little boy. I'm a man and a ninja. In the waking world you are. But in your heart of hearts you still see yourself as an innocent child. No, he spoke in a weary voice. I haven't been innocent for a very long time. He looked up at her. Mother, do you know what my life has been like? I do. She squeezed him tight again. And I'm so sorry, my precious son. You did not deserve the cruelty you received. Your father's dying wish was that you be seen as a hero. At her mention of his father, he suddenly looked around. My father. Where is he? Weren't you both supposed to be summoned? I am sorry, Naru-chan, she said sadly. Your father's spirit is locked away in the belly of a Shinigami. Fresh tears came to her eyes. His sacrifice was for all of time, and so he can never see you, not even here. I don't understand, Naruto said. It didn't seem fair. She sighed. Let me start by first telling you that your father and I both loved you very much, and that we both wanted you. Had the Kyuubi not come and had we both lived, I think we would have been a very happy family. But fate was not that kind, and your father was forced to make a terrible choice. Choice? What sort of choice? Naruto. My name is Uzumaki Kushina and I was secretly married to your father, Namikaze Minato, who was the Yondaime Hokage. He felt his stomach turn to lead. I was the son of the Yondaime. The Hokage was my father. Yes, Naru-chan, you are the son of the fourth Hokage and the last member of the Uzumaki and Namikaze clans. He put a demon into his own son. He felt all the old bitter resentments rise up along with a fresh hate. How could he do that to his own son? All this time, I thought I was just a victim of bad timing or bad luck. The village needed a baby and I just happened to be picked. But now you tell me it was done on purpose, that I was chosen. What kind of monster could do that to his own child? It wasn't like that. Then how was it? He asked bitterly. Tell me, mother, how could he do that to me? My own father. Naruto, you must understand, she said pleadingly. He was desperate and there was no other way. No mortal power could stand against the Kyuubi. The only possible way to save the village was to seal it. Your father did so at the cost of not only his life but his immortal soul. And why was I chosen? Did he not love me at all? He loved you very much. Son, don't think the decision was made easily or without much suffering. It tore his heart to know that you would have to suffer. But the sacrifice had to be made in order to save the village. And he felt that the responsibility fell upon his clan. He did not feel he could ask anyone else to make a sacrifice he was unwilling to make himself. She paused, hoping he would understand. He understood the burden he was placing on you, but it was the only way. He truly hoped that the people would understand and see you as the hero you are. A hero, he said mockingly. Is that how he consoled his guilty conscience as he put that monster inside me? Do you know how the people of the village see him? He's not just a hero there, he is practically worshipped as a god. They built a shrine to him. People go there to make sacrifices and ask for good fortune, as though he were a kami. He looked at her angrily. Do you know how they treated me? Yes, she whispered. I know, my dear one. Fear, hatred, disgust, that's what I received, and I never even knew why. I would ask them as they hurt me why, what had I done? Every day I lived in that damn village I was treated like that and I never even knew why. And now you tell me it was because my father chose that for me. Naruto, he never loved me. That's not true. Your father did love you. He loved you very much. You don't hurt the people you love, Naruto said coldly. I don't know very much about love, but I at least know that much. There are two people I really care for, and I would never deliberately hurt them, not for any reason. Naruto, he never wanted you to suffer. Can't you understand that he was faced with a terrible choice? He had to balance his duty to you as a father with that he owed to the village as its Hokage. He struggled with the choice, but in the end he felt he had to save the village no matter the cost. So he saved the village and condemned me. It wasn't supposed to be like that, she said sorrowfully. Why didn't I get his name? Why didn't people at least know who I was? So that they'd know when they were spitting on me they were spitting on him too. Your father had many enemies outside the village. It was decided to keep your true identity a secret to protect you. Protect me, he actually laughed. Protect me, ha, ha, it wasn't people outside the village who I needed protection from. So all that time I was poor and living in a dirty little apartment with no heat. I was actually the heir to the Namikaze fortune. I guess they wanted me to be poor to help protect me too. Naruto, your father didn't know how things would go. He had only a few hours to make his decision. He did the best he could under the circumstances. Can't you understand that? I understand I was used for the good of the village. As a ninja, I can accept that. For that is a ninja's lot in life, to be used by his village in whatever way they need him. But I wasn't a ninja then, I was a helpless baby. And my father should have protected me. You say it was my duty because I was his son. Yet I wasn't even allowed to have his name. His memory was worshipped while his son was treated like a criminal. I don't care if it wouldn't have been fair, he should have asked someone else's child to do this. If he really loved me then he should have protected me, not just used me. He looked into his mother's eyes. I will never forgive him. Naruto. No, he said firmly. I understand what he did and why he did it. But I'll never forgive my father for deliberately choosing to do it to me. Now I don't want to talk about him anymore. He put his arms back around her. We only have a little time, Mom. I want to know about you. Tell me about yourself. Tell me everything you can. I want to know you. She wanted desperately to convince her son to forgive his father. But looking into his eyes she could say the bitter feelings in his heart. There was so little time, and she knew that she would not be able to turn his heart in the little time they had. So though it saddened her, she decided not to try. This was her one and only chance to talk to him. Very well, son. I was born of the Uzumaki clan in the village hidden in then Whirlpool. When I was young, she told him wonderful stories about Whirlpool and about the Uzumaki. He laughed as she told him about some of the pranks she had pulled and about her love of orange and of ramen. She told him about Konoha through her eyes. He wished he could see the village the way she did. She told him about battles fought and about precious friends long lost. He wept as she told him about the tragic end of the Uzumaki and of Whirlpool village. He asked her questions and she answered them. And all the while she held him in her arms. It was wonderful. But it couldn't last. Kushina looked around and saw the trees and the ground beginning to fade away. She smiled back down at her son. Our time is almost up, Naru-chan. No. He tightened his grip around her. Mom, I don't want to lose you. I'm so sorry, Naru-chan, but you lost me many years ago. I am just so glad I was given this chance to hold you again and talk to you. We will meet again, though I pray not for many, many years yet. Now there is one last thing I need to tell you. What is it, Mom? That girl you like, Mocha. His mother smiled. I like her too, and I think she will be good for you. Thanks, Mom, that means a lot to me. He looked around and saw the world around them disappearing. He shut his eyes and pressed his face against her and held her as tight as he could. I love you, Mom. I love you too, my darling. Mom, keep telling me that you love me. I want that to be the last thing I hear. Her arms wrapped tight around him and gently began to rock him back and forth. I love you, Naru-chan. I love you. 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 He opened his eyes. He was lying on top of Mocha's bed. Outside, the window light was just beginning to leak in. He was looking up into Mocha's worried face. Naruto-kun, why are you crying? He felt her hand gently wiping his tears away. Did it not go well? He smiled at her and slowly sat up. It went fine. I met my mother and I got to know her. She really loved me. I'm very glad. What about your father? My father couldn't be summoned. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's fine. It turns out my father isn't who I'd hoped he'd be. She looked disappointed. Are you sorry you took the potion then? Not even a little bit. He leaned forward. Thank you, Mocha-chan. He kissed her. He could feel her lips tremble against his. But after the initial surprise she relaxed and gladly returned his kiss. When he pulled back he could see the blush on her face. So was that a thank you kiss? She asked nervously. Yeah, but this one's not. He slowly leaned forward and kissed her again. She closed her eyes and happily enjoyed the feeling of their lips pressing together. When this second kiss ended, her called her name in an urgent whisper. Mocha-chan. Yes, she answered a bit breathlessly. Will you go out with me? Will you be my girlfriend? She nodded happily. Yes, of course I will. They spent the rest of the morning kissing and holding each other. Chapter 9. Let it begin. The news that Naruto and Mocha were a couple was greeted by despair by most of the male student body, by joy from Yukari, who saw this as a step closer to an eventual threesome, and as a challenge by Kurumu. I am not giving up on him. Kurumu told Mocha the first chance she got alone with her. Naruto-kun is my destined one and I am going to be with him. But Naruto-kun has decided who he wants, he is my boyfriend now. We are officially together, Mocha said. HMPH, I refuse to see this as anything but an obstacle on my path to a happy marriage. Naruto is still young, it's only natural he makes some mistakes before he finally settles down with his true love. Mocha's face darkened angrily. What we have together is no mistake. Naruto-kun is mine now and I won't let you or anyone else take him from me. Kurumu smiled and crossed her arms over her chest. You have him for right now, but mark my words, he'll choose me in the end. 2 months later, in the pre-dawn light, he took out a kunai. He let his wind chakra surround it. Focus on giving it an edge. Picture two sides grinding against each other, sharpening. When he was satisfied, he whipped the kunai back and threw it straight at a nearby tree. The blade went clean through the tree and then through the boulder lying behind it. Now that is an effective attack, he said happily as he retrieved his weapon. That was wonderful, Mocha applauded. More and more of their morning workouts together had been focused on his learning jutsus and ninja skills. She didn't mind in the least as it made him happy to increase his abilities and she was glad he was getting stronger. Yokai Academy could be a dangerous place after all. You are really amazing at how quickly you keep learning these new spells. Jutsus, he corrected. Jutsus, she repeated. You really are amazing. He smiled, enjoying his girlfriend's praise. Well, it's all thanks to Yukari's book. I've always been good at learning things when I'm really motivated. He ran through some hand signs. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. Following a massive puff of smoke, 50 perfect clones appeared. Naruto puffed out his chest, especially pleased to have mastered this particular jutsu. You know, I spent years trying to make just one functioning ordinary clone without ever managing it. Then I was able to figure out how to make these really powerful shadow clones after just one night of studying. He shook his head in disgust. I can't help but wonder how powerful I'd be if I'd actually gotten some help from my village. With a thought, he dismissed the clones. Well, the important thing is that you're getting stronger now, Mocha said. She smiled and moved closer to him. Your scent, it's wonderful. She had a look in her eyes that he had come to know well. With a sigh, he turned his neck to her. Go ahead. Thank you. With that, she eagerly sunk her teeth into him. That morning, the first semester test results were posted. All 256 members of the freshman class were ranked. I'm number 1, Yukari said happily. See, I really am a genius. Hanging on firmly to Naruto's arm, Mocha pointed to where she was listed. I am number 13. Naruto smiled at her. My girlfriend, beautiful, powerful, and intelligent. What more could a guy possibly ask for? Mocha smiled happily. Since being with him, she had started to forget what it had been like to be lonely. Where are you, Naruto-kun? He pointed to a spot on the opposite end of the board. I'm number 192, he said without any embarrassment at all. Naruto-kun, aren't you worried about your standing? Yukari asked. What do you mean? I'm passing everything with at least a C-. He said. I'm even in the top 75% of the freshman class. But you could be doing much better, Mocha insisted. I've seen the way you learn jutsus. I know if you just tried a little harder with class work you could do much better. Maybe, Naruto admitted, but school work just doesn't interest me the way learning jutsus do. So long as I pass, that's all that matters. Besides, it's not like I'm going to become a teacher or an accountant when I graduate. Yukari turned to a certain blue-haired succubus. So where are you ranked? Oh, I think they left my name out, she said. Actually, she was number 251. Let's all go have lunch. She quickly got them moving before they could spot her name up on the board. The 4 of them were sitting at one of the outdoor tables enjoying a quiet routine lunch. Though Mocha preferred blood, she could and did eat regular food. None of them noticed a small group watching them from one of the academy rooftops. One observer was especially interested. Half-breed scum, Seizu muttered angrily. Something wrong? Another student with a scar running down his forehead asked. Just look, Midu-san, he pointed angrily down into the courtyard. Akayashi Mocha and Kurono Kurumu, the 2 most beautiful girls in the freshman class. They're sitting there with that worthless piece of garbage, Uzumaki Naruto. So, Midu asked unimpressed. What does it matter who he sits with? He's a half-breed and not the worry of us outcast Ayashi rogue monsters. We need to worry about the pure breeds who think they're superior to us. He has somehow started getting a reputation for being strong that is totally undeserved. I should know, I fought the little bastard. Fought and lost, from what I hear. Midu reminded him. It was Mocha that defeated me, Seizu retorted. She's a vampire and I was no match. He's a total weakling. So long as I keep him away from Mocha I'd slaughter him. Rumor says they're dating, Midu pointed out. Keeping them apart might be difficult. I'm sure I could manage, with a little help. He nodded to the other two outcast Ayashi who both smiled. I'm down for it, a boy with a reptilian face said. If we take him down it will improve our reputations, right? That's just what I was thinking, Moroha, Seizu said. Naruto's getting way too much of a reputation from his fight with me and some guy named Taro. A half-breed with such a reputation reflects badly on us, right? Midu frowned, not only at Seizu but at the other two who were obviously eager to back him up. If you want to fight this guy the first won't tell you no. But you had better understand something. Being part of this crew means everything you do reflects back on us. We only have one absolute rule. Any fight we choose we definitely have to win. Failure won't be tolerated. Do you understand? Seizu grinned at his two supporters and nodded back to Midu. Sure thing. Just leave it all to me. Midu shook his head and said nothing else. Seizu didn't really understand what he was risking by picking this fight. If he won, everything would be fine and his reputation within the organization would improve. But if he lost, well, if he lost that would be proof he was weak. And there was no place for the weak among them. Following their club activities, Mocha and Naruto were heading back to the dorms arm in arm as usual. Watching them from cover, Seizu felt his anger growing hotter. Ever since his humiliation at her hands he'd longed for this day. Looking at her he still hungered for her. Still longed to make her his. He wanted to humble her and show her that she was nothing but another weak female. As for Naruto, he wanted the bastard dead pure and simple. It infuriated him to think that lowly-had half-breed had somehow made Mocha his. That a weakling like that could have something he hadn't been strong enough to take burned like acid in his mouth. There was no way he could ever let this go. Do it, he said. Moroha smiled and moved. Moroha had transformed his hands and arms into long blade-shaped bone. Moving quickly and from behind he aimed to skewer Naruto. But he underestimated Naruto's senses and the amount of noise he made running across the ground. Hearing him coming from behind, Naruto reacted. Look out! He shoved Mocha safely to the side as he himself dodged away. Moroha let out a shout of anger and frustration as he missed cleanly. Damn it! He turned to face Naruto as his friend came out to join him. Naruto-kun. Mocha was about to run to his side when she was roughly grabbed around the shoulders by a fully transformed Seizu. Oh no you don't. Seizu dragged her back away from Naruto and the others. I know all about you transforming if he takes off your rosary. I'm not going to let him get anywhere near you. After my friends deal with your boyfriend I'll pay you back for how you humiliated me. Seizu, please release me, Mocha pleaded. Let her go, Naruto shouted furiously. You should worry about yourself. Moroha grinned as he and his friend spread out and began moving towards him from right and left. You're outnumbered after all. Naruto smiled at that. You think so? He performed some hand signs. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. There were puffs of smoke all around. When they cleared there were 100 clones present. Count again. What the hell? Moroha stared about in sudden panic. Seizu, you never said he could do anything like this. He didn't have this trick last time. Seizu called out. Don't worry. It's just some weak illusion magic. Seizu found out this was not the case when the nearest group jumped on top of him trying to forcibly take his arms off Mocha. They had no success with that as they lacked the raw strength to force him to let go. However, one of the clones did pull on Mocha's rosary. It snapped off with a tiny clink. Her body was immediately surrounded by a powerful demonic aura. Oh hell, not again, he wailed and let go of her. In the meantime the other clones took out their kunai. Remember, the original shouted out. Two edges grinding against one another. That was the mental image suggested in a section of Yukari's book to help focus wind chakra. The clones all focused their chakra around their kunai, giving their weapons' edges far sharper and stronger than steel. All the Narutos gave a shout and came rushing forward as one, eager for it. Moroha and his friend tried to fight them off but had no chance. He was stunned when he saw some of the kunai slice right through his bone blades. They also had no trouble cutting into his hide. He and his friend screamed in pain as they were cut and stabbed. Naruto could have easily killed them both but instead had his clones inflict non-lethal injuries, being satisfied to just defeat them. Meanwhile Seizu was in an even worse situation. He was facing a very powerful and very angry vampire. "You dare to touch me a second time. So, sorry." He held his arms out pitifully. He never even saw the punch that shattered his ribs and sent him flying through the air and crashing through a pair of trees. Before he could even stand, she delivered a vicious kick straight into his broken ribs that sent him flying through the air screaming in pain. When he again came to a halt, he found her standing over him, her foot pressing down onto his neck, cutting off his air. "You miserable animal, how dare you attack me yet again? Do you dare imagine you are some sort of threat to me? Never again so much as look at me or I will end your wretched life. Never touch me again, not even in your dreams. Know your place." With that she removed her foot from his throat and instead kicked him in the ribs again, sending him flying once more. With the short brutal fight complete, Naruto dismissed his clones while the transformed inner Mocha approached him. She took a moment to glance at the two bloodied and defeated enemies lying in the road. "It seems you truly have improved, Uzumaki Naruto. Are you injured?" "No, I'm fine, Mocha-ch, Mocha-san. Are you all right?" With an amused look she lifted a single eyebrow. "Do you really believe I could be hurt by such a weak opponent?" "Well, not once you transformed, but you might have been hurt before." "Your concern is unnecessary, Uzumaki Naruto. I am uninjured." She looked at him carefully. "While I am here I wish to discuss something with you." Yes." Her look of amusement disappeared and was replaced by a very serious one. It was a look that made him nervous. "You should realize that while I am a different personality, I am forced to share this body with the other Mocha. As I know you are aware, what she experiences I also experience." He blushed a bit and nodded. "Ah, yes, I know about that." He suddenly felt as though he were talking to his girlfriend's strict older sister. "As the other Mocha accepts you as her boyfriend, and as it brings her pleasure, I will not object to your kissing her or touching her as you have done so far. However," she said sharply, "you are not to go any further, most specifically you are not to take her virginity. As long as we share this body I will not tolerate that. Is that clear, Uzumaki Naruto?" He quickly nodded his assent. "I understand." He was sure any other answer would lead to immediate physical pain. She then surprised him as she took out the rosary. "If you wish to have sex with this body I am the one you will have to seduce." He felt his jaw actually drop and his heartbeat begin to race. "Though of course we both know that is impossible." She actually had a slight smirk on her face as she put her rosary back on and transformed into an unconscious teenage Mocha. From his hiding spot in the woods, Midu had watched the regrettable events play out. It was unfortunate, but he would have to deal with Seizu for failing. He had tried to warn him. It was a real shame. He'd had hopes for Seizu. Once that was out of the way he would have to deal with the two of them, the vampire and the half-breed. They had just humiliated 3 members of his crew. There was no way he could let that stand. They had to die. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, as well as checking out the author on fanfiction.net.